If your goal is to lose belly fat, you've probably already tried to just cut your carbs or just do more cardio, or the most common yet not very helpful advice is to just eat less and move more. Even though many different plans will help you reduce belly fat like keto, Mediterranean dieting, or fasting, there are only a handful of ways that are even going to be suitable for you as an individual. And there is most likely just one way that'll work far better than the other methods for you specifically. That's why today I want to go over the most effective methods for losing a significant amount of belly fat over the next 30 days. As I go through each one, focus on identifying which methods work best for you based on your food preferences, the times of the day that you normally like to eat, your preferred portion sizes. Do you like big meals? Do you like small, more frequent meals? And also focus on what you actually enjoy eating. Before we begin, it's important to remember that no one diet is objectively better than another. Both low-fat and low-carb diets have been proven to work in studies just as effectively. It's about choosing the approach that you can follow consistently without it feeling forced. The consistency is the aspect that will lead to real, noticeable fat loss. So instead of just focusing on advice like do more cardio, think about what you can commit to long term. And speaking of cardio, all the methods that I'm about to go over are diet related because your diet will have a far bigger impact on your belly fat than trying to burn fat with exercise. In fact, it's almost impossible to outwork a bad diet. So let's start first with a very popular method that I already mentioned, which is ketogenic dieting. The goal of keto is to get your body to enter a state known as ketosis, where your body will begin to rely on fat for energy instead of carbohydrates. And in that state, you'll convert fat into ketones, which can then be used as an alternative energy source. Since carbohydrates are your body's preferred energy source, we have to eliminate most of those carbs so that your body chooses ketones over carbs. That's why a typical ketogenic diet will only allow about 5 to 10% of your daily total calories to come from carbs. Then 20 to 25% of your diet will be coming from protein, and anywhere from 70 to 80% of your total calories will come from fat. So who is this method great for? This plan is perfect for anyone who primarily enjoys high-fat foods like steak, bacon, eggs, butter, avocado, cheese, and salmon. If you can see yourself eating these types of foods on a daily basis and feeling satisfied, then the keto diet may be the perfect plan for you. However, if you love carbs like bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, and high-carb fruits like bananas, you're not going to want to go with the keto diet because you will essentially be eliminating all these carbs to stay under a daily 5 to 10% carb allowance. Now, if you don't mind giving up those carbs, there are still many ways that you can create low-carb substitutes like cauliflower rice instead of regular rice, or low-carb zucchini pasta instead of regular pasta, or even pizza with a cauliflower crust instead of a regular wheat-based crust. On top of that, if you enjoy a high-fat diet, keto does give you an opportunity to focus less on counting every one of your calories because low-carb diets will usually automatically create the conditions to stay in a calorie deficit. Don't get me wrong, you can still gain fat by eating too much fat, so calories still count, but you don't necessarily have to count them with keto or other low-carb plans, so that's another benefit if you don't like counting calories. Now, what if you want the opposite? What if you want a diet that's very high in carbs? In fact, you know yourself well enough that you know when you cut carbs, you typically quit within a matter of a few days. And you can't see yourself avoiding not just healthy carbs like brown rice, sweet potatoes, and oats, but also unhealthy carbs like Pop-Tarts, ice cream, or donuts. Or maybe you like something in between like white bread or plain pasta made from refined grains. If you need these kinds of comfort foods in your diet to stick to it, your best strategy might be an if it fits your macros approach, also known as IIFYM. With this approach, you would still be able to eat all your favorite foods, even the ones that are high in calories and unhealthy like Oreos, with each cookie containing a whopping 50 calories. You would do that by using an online macronutrient calculator, and after entering your stats, you would stick to the exact protein, carb, and fat recommendations that it tells you. Now, the way that you would effectively incorporate junk food like ice cream and cookies on a daily basis would be by tracking your calories daily with an app like MyFitnessPal. Your main goal at the start of each day is to hit your protein target. As you try to hit your protein target, you will also consume carbs and fats in the process. For example, if you eat salmon, the protein will come with a fair amount of fats. Once you meet your protein target for the day, you can then transition over to filling the rest of your remaining carbs and fats with whatever foods you enjoy. Obviously, you'll still be tracking as you add Pop-Tarts or donuts to your diet to make sure that you're still sticking to your allotted macros. So the plus is that you'll have an endless variety of healthy and unhealthy foods to choose from. But the obvious downside is that you will have to track everything you eat on a daily basis. And even though you can definitely get lean while eating unhealthy foods are obviously unhealthy for you. So even though you can look good while incorporating some junk food, if your diet is mostly junk food, you probably won't feel your best. Another currently popular plan that can help you reduce belly fat without as much of an emphasis on counting calories is intermittent fasting. This is an eating pattern that alternates between periods of eating and fasting. One of the most popular approaches is the 16-8 method, where you fast for 16 hours and restrict your eating to an 8-hour window each day. For example, you might eat between noon and 8 p.m. and then fast from 8 p.m. until noon the next day. During the fasting period, only water, black coffee, or unsweetened tea is typically consumed. This method helps reduce calorie intake naturally because it limits the amount of time per day that you can eat and digest your meal. So intermittent fasting is great for those of you that want to consume larger but less frequent meals throughout the day. Usually people will skip breakfast and then only eat a large lunch and dinner. By limiting the amount of time that you have to eat, you'll eat larger meals, which will naturally make you feel full during your eating window and reduce overall calorie consumption. Now, if you're someone that prefers smaller meals throughout the day and fasting feels difficult for you or even leads to binging behavior after breaking your fast, you might be better off not fasting and instead eating smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. Also, if you want to incorporate junk food into an intermittent fasting plan, you definitely can, but it'll once again require you to track your calories while intermittent fasting. So the main benefits are larger meals. You don't have to worry about planning a bunch of meals throughout the day. You'll naturally get full during your limited eating window, and on days that you're eating relatively clean, tracking calories isn't as important. Now, if you are a fan of fasting and you want to worry about your daily meals even less, you can go for the Warrior Diet. The main difference is that the Warrior Diet limits your eating window to only 4 hours per day and requires a 20-hour fast every day. This essentially gives you one meal with some snacks, and that's about it. Usually most people consume this meal at night a few hours before bed. The Warrior Diet also highly prioritizes real single ingredient foods. The structure of the Warrior Diet is designed to mimic the eating behaviors of our ancient ancestors that didn't have access to processed foods. So primarily you'll be eating foods that are natural and are typically found around the outside aisles of your grocery store, such as fruit, vegetables, meat, whole grains like oats, as well as nuts, seeds, and dairy. By combining these healthy, natural, filling foods with a limited eating window of only 4 hours, you're pretty much guaranteed to lose belly fat without even having to track any calories at all. The downsides are, again, that you'll have to be comfortable with not eating for the majority of the day. Keep in mind that's something that you can work on by first starting with shorter fasts and then increasing the length over time. Another effective dieting strategy that's essentially a spin-off of sticking primarily to healthy single ingredient foods on the outside aisles of the grocery store is the Mediterranean diet. With this plan, there is no time restriction and you more so are following a set of rules rather than counting calories. The Mediterranean diet originally came into existence as a heart-healthy eating plan inspired by the traditional dietary patterns of countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea, such as Greece and Italy. So if your goal is not just to look healthy, but also to eat and feel healthy, this diet offers a great starting point. It emphasizes whole, nutrient-dense foods, including plenty of fresh vegetables, fruit, whole grains, legumes, and nuts. Healthy fats like olive oil are also a big part of the diet, along with a moderate amount of fish and seafood that are full of omega-3 fatty acids. Even though fish is the preferable type of protein, chicken, eggs, and dairy are also consumed in moderate amounts, while red meats and sweets are eaten infrequently. The Mediterranean diet is known for its benefits in reducing inflammation and improving heart health. In general, if you stick to a plan where you're only eating single ingredient foods, even if you are eating more chicken, eggs, dairy, and red meat than what the Mediterranean diet recommends, you should still be able to drop belly fat without counting calories. Real single ingredient foods will naturally get you lean. The trick is sticking to it. And again, if you can't stick to only healthy food, then you still have options like fasting and if it fits your macros. Next, if you like carbs, the best route for you might be a plant-based diet. The typical split allows for 50 to 60% of your daily calories to come from carbs. Then 20 to 25% of your calories would come from protein and the rest would come from fats. When set up properly, a plant-based diet will focus primarily on whole, minimally processed foods that come from plants, including vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. The diet minimizes or eliminates animal products and highly processed foods, with the goal being to emphasize nutrient-dense plant-based foods that are full of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. You can still incorporate some animal-based products if you go the vegetarian route, which would still allow you to eat eggs and dairy to meet your protein requirements. But if you were to decide to stick to a vegan plan, you would avoid all animal-based products, including eggs and dairy. Although this diet can be high in carbs, if the carbs you're eating are natural, they'll promote fullness since they're high in fiber. For example, oatmeal is very filling, relatively high in protein for a carb, and can definitely help you burn fat. The issue is that a lot of products that are labeled vegan are not at all good for fat loss. For example, there are certain Doritos flavors that are vegan, but obviously those are not the carbs that will help you feel satiated, leading you to eat less and burn fat. So the benefit of a plant-based diet is that you'll be able to eat more carb-based meals, and if you have certain ethical reasons to avoid an animal-based diet, it helps you accomplish that too. But remember, just because a product is labeled vegan doesn't mean it's actually good for fat loss. You still have to stick to the single ingredient food route. So those are 5 very different approaches to reducing your calorie intake to lead to fat loss around your midsection. None of them are necessarily better than the other. It's about identifying which plan you'll be able to stick to easier. If you know you need some type of junk food as a reward at the end of each day, the Mediterranean diet may not be the right plan for you, and instead, and if it fits your macros approach, may work much better. Choose the one that you'll be able to stick to, and you'll find plenty of videos on this channel for the exact specific steps on how to set up each of these diet plans for yourself. I really hope this video has helped you out. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, if you're looking for a done-for-you plan that's based on your preferences and you don't want to go through the trial and error designing the perfect plan for yourself, try my free 6-week shred. It'll come with a full meal plan based on your preferences, a 42-day workout plan, a recipe book, and a coach to guide you through the entire process. To learn more, you can click the link below in the description, or you can head straight on over to my website at gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon.